Hello, great ones. Welcome to the Live and Be Great podcast. I'm your host, Latanya Sampson McDonald. I am a life coach and a registered marriage and family therapist associate. And this podcast was created to motivate, educate, and inspire all to live and be great. On today's episode, I wanted to share another conference that I was a part of, still a part of the Breaking the Cycle Empowerment Conference, as I've shared in previous episodes. But this time we wanted to take a different take on it, and we talked about the importance of self-care and self-love. Please make sure you write down all the tips. It's very important that we put ourselves first because, like I say all the time, you cannot pour from an empty cup. All right? So here it is.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for joining us again for another empowerment conference. This time we are talking about mental health and self-love. So I have an amazing panel with me this evening. Everyone just tuning in virtually again from different places across the country. And this time I have an amazing co-host with me, my brother, friend, Byron Jamal, joining in with me this evening. Byron, just tell the people about yourself, and we're going to go ahead and just jump right into this thing.
Absolutely. Rashawn, thank you again for having this platform, this space. It is so necessary and needed. I'm so excited about all the people we have on this panel and the vision that you have here. For me, I'm a love coach, a former pastor turned into an activist and a person who helps people find love and success in their everyday lives. That is my work. I do that with one-on-one coaching, group coaching. I write a lot of different books on love, and I help in corporate trainings and speaking. So look, wherever love takes me, I go. Excited about that and glad to be on with you as a co-host, brother. This is a great first time.
Awesome. Glad to have you. So, as you guys know, Byron is an author. He just recently wrote 2 books within the past year, right? So I just want you to, first off, if you can do this, kind of just lead us in a quick prayer. And then we're going to go ahead and just kind of go into one of your inserts from off your book.
Absolutely. Let's bow. Father, we thank you today, the God of all, the God who loves all, the God who created all and knows all. We thank you today that you are guiding us and directing us in this moment, that you are with us, that you are God with us, standing beside us in all that we will say and all that we will do on this particular conversation. I pray for open hearts for those who will hear these words, for those to be impacted by the conversations that will be had amongst all the panelists. And I thank you for divine insight and wisdom in this moment. Thank you for love shining on us right now and shining through us to those who will hear these words. We appreciate the vision of Rashawn Felton, and we lift him up even now in this moment and for years to come. In the name of all that is love, all that deserves love. Amen.
Amen. Awesome. So, Byron, take it away.
Absolutely. So this, Rashawn asked me to open up with a little excerpt from my new book, Successful Love, Navigating the 6 Phases of Love. I do believe that love is a journey, and from this particular chapter 2, talking about love is your birthright. And the reason why I wanted to read this is I feel like a lot of us don't do what this subsection says, and that is accepting your birthright. Might be backwards. I have my phone backwards, so I apologize for that. I want to read a quote first by Neville Goddard, who says, "Love is our birthright. Love is the fundamental necessity of our life. Do not go seeking for that which you are. Those who go seeking for love only make manifest their own lovelessness, and the loveless never find love. Only the loving find love, and they never have to seek for it." So I say very simply, a little story about my growing up. In my mid-20s, I left the church to find God. I was a pastor who was guided by an ambition to become something and not to honor the purpose of my life. I wanted to have a big congregation, speak on large platforms and be celebrated for my charisma, passion, and intellect. Like most people who go after titles, fame, and fortune with no deeper meaning, I became lost. And this may make a lot of church leaders cringe, but leaving the church was the best decision of my life. People in the church expected me to live up to a certain standard. It should have been expected since I was a pastor. However, the same expectation was on me when I was a member of the choir, a young minister, and an ordained elder. Each day, I was living my life as a performance to ensure the people loved me and accepted me. One wrong move, and they may disown me for my mistakes and sins. I wasn't alone in my acting, though. The single mother that came in for counseling was struggling with the balance of finding a man and keeping her integrity. The usher was keeping a calm face, but was facing mental and physical abuse in her home. The deacon always wore the best suits, but carried the worst secrets. Everyone was acting. We were all beautifully masked characters, uncertain of how to exit the stage. Leaving the church gave my definition of love the freedom to expand. Without expectations of people, I discovered that love didn't have to be earned. Unconditional love didn't have to be rare, and it didn't have to involve obligation. I started to believe that maybe, just maybe, love wasn't that hard. I'll stop there.
Wow. That's, you just said a lot. Especially in the church. I think for the most part, I believe most of us have grew up in the church. The church has definitely become a play. I mean, we're just so conditioned to do things a certain way, even in the church too. It's, yeah.
We are often told, brother, that the church is a hospital, and
Right.
yet it's the only hospital where you can't be sick. Like right now, it is literally a hospital where you can't be. So you can got your best. You can't have a gown on. You gotta basically be. Everybody needs to be a doctor or a nurse, because if you are in trouble or in pain, it is a problem. It is a direct problem. Look, we are in a situation right now. We are in a crisis in America. In our politics, we're talking about fighting for the soul of our country. We're fighting for our very own souls, to be who we are and to live in our truth and to live in the authentic nature of who we are. Look, many of us are seriously deprived of self-love. We are battling depression at higher rates than ever before. We have suicide rates that are off the charts, higher than any time in history. We are fighting with kids who are not knowing themselves and have lost their integrity. We are in an existential crisis in our country and across the world. And that's why this conversation about mental health and self-love is so necessary.
Definitely, definitely. I was just thinking about something earlier today. You know how growing up, they often say a child's first love is their parents, right? And it really hit my spirit today that a child's first love technically should be themselves. But you should love yourself first before you can love anybody else. So that is, yeah, you're right. We're in such a crisis in this country now. Till, yeah, like I've often heard, even like the last presidential election, where they say this actual election matters. This one here that we're in right now, definitely. This one,
Yeah.
people should be out voting like their life really truly does depend on it.
It does.
At this rate that we're going, with the leadership that we have that's not leadership, there would not be an America that we know, which has already been rocky. But that won't even be the case if we keep going into the position, the place that we're going.
Very true.
So I want to turn things over and kind of shift things into the mental side of things from our amazing expert all the way from Los Angeles, California. My amazing sister, life coach, therapist, Latanya Sampson McDonough.
Looking amazing.
if you could just kind of touch on a little bit as far as like the mental health side of things for us, and kind of giving us the insight from, you know, what you do every day, and what you see on the front line, you know, for people. You can just kind of touch on that for us.
Okay. So there are many different experiences that we're seeing. We're seeing people that will wear their mask, and we see people that won't wear their mask. We see white people that won't wear their mask, and we see other different races that won't wear their mask and do wear their mask and things of that nature. There is a privilege aspect, right? So when you saw the first set of protests about, you know, it's my right to not wear a mask, okay, I think there are more privileged people on that side because they're not used to having anything taken away from them. So you saw the struggle, you saw the anger, like, how dare you, this is my right, or whatnot. You also saw the disparity in, you didn't see those people getting tear gassed and rubber bullets getting shot at them. You didn't, right? And there's a reason for that. You know, in the political era as well, there was a guy named Herman Cain. I believe he tried to run for president or something, but he's an avid, known as an avid Trump supporter. And he actually tweeted out, you know, saying that it's all right, you know, to not wear a mask. And this was on his way to the Trump rally that, you know, a lot of people didn't show up to, which the president was pretty pissed off about. But he ended up catching the virus and dying. Okay. Also, during the DNC conference for the Democrats, you had a young lady who her father passed away, who was also an avid Trump supporter, right? Even in school, I was in school getting my master's degree in psychology right around the time that Trump became president, and we had a circle with therapists, and it was therapists of different races. And it was Hispanic therapists saying that their parents voted for Trump. It was Filipino, therapists saying that their parents voted for Trump, right? Of course, and there was white people and things of that nature. And I had so much anxiety during that meeting because I'm hearing them complain and the despair and, oh, I'm so afraid. And when it finally came time for me to talk, I was like, well, you guys are getting a small snippet of what it feels like to be Black in America, right? To have something happen to you that there's nothing you could do about it. You can't change it, and you just have to deal with it, right? We can't change this, okay? So there's nothing that we can do about it. We can't protest for being Black. How are they gonna change that? You get what I'm saying? So it's like the mental state. I think people, even that piece, I think people don't even realize like the depths of the fact that our parents didn't even pause to let us process that. When they told us that for the rest of our lives, we're going to be treated as less than, we have to work 10 times harder just to get half of the recognition that our counterparts have based off of something we can never change. Nobody's parent even thought to take a beat. Why? Because they couldn't even process it. So now we're in this crisis mode to where people don't have the answers. Even the doctors, like, you know, that they have appointed over this crisis with COVID-19, they're unsure. They're trying to figure things out. So you're surrounded now by even more heightened trauma. And you're going to have people that are used to it, right? Used to it, and now they're numb to it. You're going to have people that are tired of it, so they're trying to find something that's going to work, that's going to get somebody's attention, right? And then you're going to have people in disbelief, right? Stages of grief. So you're seeing people now getting a little bit more lenient, you know, not wearing their masks, going to parties, like big 4th of July. I know you guys saw on the news, like big 4th of July functions as if we're not in a pandemic, right? So that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a mixture of different reactions, and your reaction is based off of your life and your perception and how you perceive life and how things are supposed to be. And also your survival techniques that you have developed along the way, right? So we have people that are uninformed, right? We have people that are used to being uninformed, because I know my household, we didn't watch the news. If we did, and somebody did a crime, we over there playing, please don't be black, please don't be black. Why? Because that we knew that they were going to take this person and define the whole community, which is unfair, and it's not our system, it's not our way. But some of us, you're either going to start to assimilate, right? Or you're going to push back. And you have a right to do both. But the sad part about it is not a lot of people are taking in consideration everyone else. So when you decide to not wear your mask and you may be a carrier, you're not necessarily considering the other person that you might infect, because we're a dog eat dog world and we step on people to get to the top. That's just what it is. Somebody has to lose in order for me to win. And that's the picture that America has painted. And now it's time to deal with it. It's time to face it. You can't just look the part anymore. Like Brother Byron was saying with the church, you can't just look the part anymore. You actually have to be the part. That's why you're seeing all these people that were at the top, all this success people with all these different scandals and things of that nature, because we've been fed this lie that our worth is based on what we have, right? The material success, but not this success. Right. This is what's going to have you sustain this era. This is what's going to have you be able to push through and survive this new normal that we have. So that's just a piece of it. And I think if we're going to have change, we got to be empathetic and we got to get back to being humans. Right? Okay.
Right. No, you're so right. I mean, I definitely believe that, honestly, at the end of the day, and like we talked on the last conference, when things start changing, let's say rules and laws start changing, we start getting the right people in office. If we as a nation are not here mentally, we're not going to know how to adapt to that change. It's like if you give someone $1 million that has never had any money, what do you think they're going to do? Mm-hmm. They're going to blow. So if you give change to people that has never had it, they don't know what it looks like, they're going to end up putting themselves back in a situation, then they're going to blame it on somebody else. But it's like, no, you wasn't ready mentally for that change. So that's, I know for me, the reason why on my platforms I always definitely push mental health, seeking therapy, seeking help. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. We as a nation need to be doing that. This country has been founded on money and power and greed for so many years. We've been conditioned to think our everyday life is all about, let me get this money. It's about the money. No. So, but yeah, that's definitely true. So I want to go ahead and go into one of the questions that we did receive. And I'm going to go ahead and direct this question to Chad, Mr. Walker. During this pandemic, how you and your significant other have been able to cope professionally and personally during this time?
Okay, so I think that anytime you live with your significant other, let's start there. If you live with your significant other, and of course, just like everyone else, when the country shut down, now from seeing those times when you're like maybe together 8-10 hours a day, you're together pretty much 24 hours a day. So you have to still be able to find that time to have that me time and to have that we time. And I think that in order to cope, you have to set those boundaries, those guidelines. Just like if you get a roommate in college, you know, they always say, sit down first, come up with some house rules, you know, X, Y, and Z, 1, 2, 3. I think it's the same way as it relates to your significant other, especially if you live together, because then you have to plan work schedule. Okay, you work with kids. Okay, so I need to make sure I'm quiet between hours of 8 and 2. Okay, you work, you know, you got corporate meetings all day. Okay, from 12 to 5. Okay, so how are we going to set this up? So I think it's all about communication, and understanding, because once again, this is new for everyone. So it's not like, you know, we have prior experience with, oh, now we both working from home and trying to get this taken care of. So I think it takes sitting down, having that communication, getting that understanding. And then secondly, making sure that you carve out that, like I said, that me time versus that we time. I love my alone time. I don't know how you guys feel, but I like my alone time so I can watch my favorite TV show in peace. Law and Order SVU, just in case, you know, anyone was wondering. But for the most part, like, or watching basketball, thank God it has started back. So those are my great me times. I like to have that time, but then I also want to make sure, you know, I'm spending time with my significant other. We're spending time with our significant others, and making sure that, you know, we're enjoying each other's company. But I do believe absence make the heart grow fonder. And that can be in the household, whether, hey, I like to work out, so I'm gonna go work out outside today. I'm gonna be gone for a couple hours, whether I get a good jog in or I work out, you know, just do an outdoor routine. I think that time apart also helps you. So when you get back together, number one, you have something to talk about. Tell me about your day, what happened, and then, you know, from there you can kind of, you know, go on from there. But I think it's definitely establishing that me time versus we time.
Right. So it seems like it's more so communication. And I think with communication, and I tell people all the time, everyone say they are a good communicator. You can communicate all day. I can sit home on the phone with you all day and tell you my complete day, but if you're not listening and really understanding, and I think that's a key thing too, what you just said, you know, understanding, you know, with communicating what the person is really saying to you, you won't get it. It won't come off to you properly. But communicating is also still more than just sitting on the phone or you just sitting next to me and I'm talking to you all day.
Exactly.
It's communication is way beyond that, and people don't understand that. I know in relationships, I thought I was the best communicator. If you would have told me I wasn't, I would have cussed you out. That's how I was. Again, I was one of those people that thought if I told you my day, oh, I've communicated with you. Half of what communicating is. So definitely. So Chadrick, so with that being the case, how do you properly tell your significant other you need social distancing or your me time? Like how do you do that? Especially you and your significant other live together. So like how do you tell that person, especially during this time of being in a pandemic?
Got you. I think once again, it's all about setting that proper foundation. That's any relationship, personal or professional. Like you have to be able to set that foundation to make it comfortable for the other person to come to you and say, this is how I feel. Once again, part of mental health. This is how I feel. You make me feel this way, or I need this in order to get to this point. So I think that once you set that foundation, and if you have not, I suggest that you do so, because this isn't going anywhere anytime soon. So I think we're still going to be together for quite some time. So I would say that number one, have that foundation set. And number two, just be open and honest. My thing is this: I'd rather tell you, you know, the ugly truth than a beautiful lie. I think that, you know, at the end of the day, we like our time. I'm pretty sure we're busy individuals. I'm sure we have things we have to do. And sometimes you just want to have some me time. And I think it's nothing wrong to just say, hey, listen, you know, I've had a long day, or hey, you know, this has been going on. I just need some me time. If I can get a good 2 hours to just do nothing or to do my own thing, I think that would be great. And especially once you live together, or if you live together, I think that's more than reasonable. Okay, cool. So you can go in the den and you do your own thing, and I'm gonna either go out and, you know, maybe exercise or two. I go in another room and I'll do my own thing, and then we'll, you know, reconvene in a couple of hours. I think once again, it's all about communication. Proper communication, good communication. Let me make sure I say that, and making sure that at the end of the day, we have an understanding, and that we also are in agreement, because once again, I may be feeling it, but you could have been feeling it as well, but didn't want to say anything. So you may be like, oh, I'm glad you said something because I was feeling the exact same way, you know? So I think that once you have that foundation set and you make that person feel comfortable to come to you and say, good, bad, or ugly, this is how I feel, then, you know, you'll be okay.
Exactly. So again, properly communicating. Now that word is going to keep coming up. You know, yeah, communication is really just is the key to a lot of things that we deal with on a daily basis. And properly communicating, like you said, you know, you telling me something and then you catching the attitude is not properly communicated, because now at that point I'm going to already have a defensive mode, because now you got an attitude. You didn't properly communicate that. So now if we're living together, the whole mood of the house is now turned off, you know, versus if you would have properly communicated something or whatever the issue that we were dealing with in that moment, could definitely change things.
Yeah.
Communication, it's properly communicating is the key.
Rashawn, it's interesting. I actually had to have these conversations with clients about that, and so I actually came up with 4 things that couples could do. And Chad mentioned a good one. I have 4 here that I think will help everybody. And to touch on communication first, sometimes we think that we need to have these grand conversations in moments, and you never know what energy you're getting in a particular moment. So it's best to catch a conversation when everybody's on even terms. Maybe you just woke up, but trying to catch somebody when they just got off work, they already tired, something may have happened, they may be a little bit on edge already, and try to have deep conversations about, hey, can you go in the other room? That can push people over. So having these conversations up front, planning your life instead of reacting to your life, that's what I help my clients do. So I gave 4 things, and they're really quick. Number 1 would be an invisibility hat. So what it is when you have this hat on, your partner automatically knows that you want some personal space. So no words have to be spoken. That way, you never have to say, my partner told me that they didn't want to spend time with me, right? Because that automatically plays back in your head when the argument comes up. So invisibility hat is a nonverbal communication that allows you to say, hey, right now I need a little space. And it's already implied that we agreed that these hats would mean this, okay? So that encourages space. Number 2 would be a lockdown commute. So basically what you would do is 2 people are living together. The person whoever decides to do it that day, one person would get dressed, pack a lunch, do all the things they would normally do, say goodbye, kiss them, do all that stuff, right? Walk out, if they walk around the block, walk around the backyard, walk around wherever, come back in, go to a different room, and they are gone. All right, you text them like they are not even there. And that is intentional again, because now you've physically done something that shows our intention of not invading one another's space. Another one would be 1 daily free pass. So you would create a free pass creatively, however you do it, create 1 free pass, and you can give it, you can literally give it to the other person when you feel like they offended you. All right. So this is when you're in your feelings and your emotions, and you can be like, all right, you get 1 pass today. That's it. Because we're here all this time together, but that's only when something stupid happens, something that you're like, man, you know, normally you wouldn't react like this. Normally you wouldn't make me feel bad about being in your space, but I understand we've been up under each other. And last one would be a complaint box. And this is something that you use an old shoebox or something out of, and once a week, only once a week, you open the box. That means all week long, you put all your complaints in about all the dishes they didn't do, all the laundry they didn't fold up, the stuff that they left out overnight. You put all that stuff in. And once a week, now that means that you don't catch an attitude about it once you put it in the box. So once a week, you go in the box, and if it's still relevant, if it still means something, if it still matters, then you address it. And in that way, you realize, hey, I'm not going anywhere. This is not major. What's major is that I love you. And you keep that in mind, because right now, being right up under people can be very difficult. So those are the 4 things I share, just to piggyback on what you and Chad were saying as tangible things that you can do to activate in your relationship.
Awesome. Those are some good key things. I know for me, And you actually just kind of touched on some things that I know, like, for example, me and my ex, I know we had a long distance relationship. We both work in very demanding careers.
Mm.
I'm that person to where when I want to talk about something that's bothering me, I want to talk about right then and there. And I would definitely get offended by when he would, oh, well, this is not the right time. Right? So like you said, when that person may have had a long day, that's not the time to talk about an issue that I've probably been dealing with and thinking about that whole day. And then in return, I would then now catch an attitude. And then of course it would then start into an argument. But like you said, I mean, you definitely have to learn your partner. You have to learn and know when to properly communicate certain things, to have certain conversations, because everything is not need to be talked about right then and there. So that's true. It definitely has made me a better person now.
I just want to piggyback off of that and tell you guys a funny story.
Mm-hmm.
I was so sorry. I was so tired at work, and I came home, and one of my earrings was on the floor, and my husband stepped on it. He was pissed. He was like, "Man, you always leave your earrings." And you know what I did? I started laughing. And it wasn't because it was funny. It's because I was so tired. I didn't have it in me to argue back. I just didn't. He would laugh during this time, but after a while, he had to just let it go because I ain't have it. Right? So there's also times where, you know, you have to just let out what you need to let out. If it's not the right moment, and then your partner also will also need to pick up on the signals that, okay, this is not important, whatever the case may be. But I was just so tired. Because any normal day I'll argue about it or whatever the case may be. But my body, sometimes if you don't take care of yourself, your body will be the alarm that you need to calm down and take a break. So I'm just like, man, I'm really tired. I need to make sure when I come home, I take time by myself to decompress, or whatever the case may be, so that I can be there for my partner, you know, and you know, we can have conversations or whatever the case may be. But that's never happened to me before. Usually, you know, you ready to argue, I'm ready to go too, or whatever the case may be. But I just it was hysterical. It was like I was delirious,
Right.
because I was so tired. So that's just like a quick funny story.
Thank you. Yeah, you know, like I say, just communicating properly, and knowing your significant other, and knowing when the right time, because again, it's always a time and a place for everything. So now we're going to go ahead and shift gears. Byron, if you want to kind of go on the next set of questions that we received.
So let me throw this to Antoine. As somebody who has been through different things and has openly admitted bouts with depression, what do you do now? Because this is so important now. There are more, like I mentioned earlier at the top of this, so many people now who are dealing with depression and dealing with isolation and don't feel they have the support system that is immediate because of the isolation and separation to really heal and let things off. So how do you handle your self-care routine, your self-love system, if you will?
I had to let 40 seconds go by because currently, as of May 3rd, 2020, every 40 seconds, someone is taking their life, or attempting suicide. So that's what I do on a daily basis. Whenever I feel like that my trigger has been sharpened, or I feel like I'm not at my best, I count 40 seconds and realize that I'm still here. and there was someone who took their life that last 40 seconds simply because they didn't have anyone to talk to, or simply because life just took them by the head and reared its ugly head. So I would recommend anyone, or I would say what I have done is, one, I identified my triggers. That is key to me. Whether it was one of the two times I attempted suicide, whether it was the time I was in a mental institution or a partial hospitalization program, I had to admit my triggers. I had to find out when people talk about molestation, when people talk about abuse, when people talk about alcohol, when I'm sitting around people who are drinking, they're triggers for me because of what happened to the me that I tried to suppress so much. So what I had to do is I realized what those triggers were. And I took those triggers and I turned them into what I call victory laps. So I turned them into, every time that I thought I pick up the phone, my victory lap is to call someone and to tell that person what is on my mental at that present moment. Because if I don't tell you, I'd rather dial 10 numbers than take 10 800 milligrams and not be here tomorrow. So if I have to dial and call and talk to 10 different people, I'd rather do that than go in the bathroom and do that, or either tie all of my shoestrings together and find somewhere for me to hang myself. So I think that once we leverage out the difference between what's peace and what's happiness, and realize what's most important, I think that we'll be better. Even with this pandemic, even with everything that's going on, lives are going rapidly. Lives are going rapidly, and we can have conversations. I listen to people talk about how, how many people COVID is killing. But before there was a COVID, there was a depression, and depression still has a number one. So we talk about the virus and we talk about the pandemic, but let's have the tough conversation to that 13-year-old little boy who's afraid to tell his father that he's a homosexual male because he's afraid of what's going to happen. So now he's suppressed it, and he's 30 years old and still don't know how to deal with it. So we have to have those conversations. And I look at it with the virus, they tell us to put our mask on, and and I'm not taking away from anything or any high level official or doctor. But they tell us to put our mask on. They tell us to govern ourselves as we walk outside. But no one is having a conversation to tell you how to deal with people that's dealing with depression. Because us too are putting on a mask every day, are putting on a mask every single day. And so to answer your question, I identify my triggers. I overcome my triggers and not succumb to my triggers. And then I find my peaceful place and not my happy place. My happy place is going outside, getting in my 2020 vehicle. That's my happy place. But my peaceful place is the only place in this world that I won't give a spare key to. It is an occupancy of one. And that is where I promise myself that I will reside.
I love that. That's powerful, because for a lot of people, well, let me just say this. A lot of people need to hear that, because not only are people dealing with depression, but they are also suffering in silence, not realizing the difference between that happy place and that peaceful place. There are so many people who have built up so many happy things they thought would make them happy. Like you mentioned, 2020 vehicle, the new house that they bought, the new Jordans, the new label, this, whatever else, and there are people who have aspired to the highest offices and grand titles and great degrees, and still that's just happy place.
Yeah.
And it doesn't hold when you need the peaceful place. And so I thank you for that, because I think somebody needed to hear that in the way that you said it. Now, you mentioned that you would call 10 people. With it being so difficult in this generation to really sometimes trust who you can share information with, I think because of the social media era, people are able to post things and share things so quickly. Gossip spreads so fast. How do you find people that you can check in with that you trust? How do you vet those people? Because I think there are people who have been hurt, let down, and manipulated by people that they invested that safe space with. So how do you vet people?
So I didn't use the word trust until I turned 30. So that was 5 years ago. I didn't believe in trust because I felt like everyone let me down. But there's a saying where if you aren't the dumbest person in your circle, then you need to look for a new circle. Because I need you to educate me as much as possible.
Yes.
And so I find those people where I don't get into relationships with people. It's not that I love my best friends. It's that I trust my best friends. It's not that I love them, which I do. And it's like I tell my partner all the time, don't wake up in the morning and tell me that you love me. Wake up in the morning and tell me that you trust me, because I love me enough for both of us. But wake up in the morning and tell me that you trust me. When we depart for the day, tell me that you trust me. And that's how I am with my friends. So I vet them by, I don't put you in my space if I look at your mannerisms and they don't align with mine. Mm-hmm. So when I look at you and I study you, and Bart, I can speak on you when, when Sean asked us 2 years ago to come to the first conference, or last year to come to the first conference, and I watched you and LaTanya, and I watched you too, and I said, oh, these are people that I would be connected to, because I know that if I pick up the phone, it would be 3 people on that line. It will be me, them, and God, and I know that none of us will tell what is being said. And so I that's the way I vet, is I look at your mannerisms. I look at how you hold yourself. And if you don't hold yourself to the standard in which I think you would hold me, then we don't have a conversation. So we don't have a conversation.
I love that. Well stated, and thank you, brother. Same here. Ditto to that. That's powerful. I think a lot of people need to invest in that thought, because we do invest in people because we think someone else has trusted them, and so we think we should automatically trust them. But the level that that person may be on with that other person can be 2 different things. You have to try spirit by your own spirit, not by somebody else's. And so that's really good. Rashawn, you want to hop back on with another question for probably London? Yeah, we want to hear from him. I don't think we've heard anything from our brother yet.
London, what is the difference in masking your mental illness and coping with your mental illness?
Oh, that's good.
What is the difference in your aspect? Like what, between the two, masking it and then just kind of dealing with it, and coping and just tolerating it?
Oh gosh. So you've been asking great questions this entire time. And then you stick me with like the hardest question, I feel like.
But see, you know what? This piggyback off of what Antoine just said. See, I trust you. See, I've been knowing London for about 15, 20 years. We actually went to high school together.
Oh, wow.
So I trust you with a question like this. I know you're going to give us a good answer.
I will do my best. So I think that when it comes to masking, like your mental illness, is almost just like you putting on clothes, right? Or even when you think about, if you got a body odor, you're masking it by putting on deodorant and cologne, but the stench might still be there. It might get even worse, in my opinion. Likely will get worse. But I think when you're actually coping with it, you're like dealing with it and you're doing the work. And I think that in order for you to I won't say move past your mental illness, but in order for you to really grow and become like the best person you're supposed to be, you have to actually cope with it and do the work. And I know for myself, it takes longer than what you'd imagine that when it comes to doing the actual work. And it looks different for everybody, right? For some, it might be going to see an actual professional licensed certified therapist. Others, it may be them going to their friends. Might even just be you having mirror talk with yourself, right? You journaling, you writing things out, you asking yourself questions about past experiences that you might have had and why you reacted in such a way. Which I think coping means you actually have to do, to me, the work. And masking, you just trying to hide it and disguise it and, put on a brave face, but there's no growth. There's no real growth there.
Yes, I like that. I really believe that, brother. I got to speak on that because the excerpt I read at the beginning is so real. I was masking for so long. And you're right, there is no growth behind a mask. Masks don't change. They stay just as they are. You know, if you get a pretty mask, it's gonna be pretty, and that's the mask. But to cope with something, to really process, I like the word process, because to really process something, to really go through the journey of it and to really walk it out a little bit means that you, just like when you're walking, you see things, you discover things, you learn things, you work out some things, and you achieve some things. And if that's not a part of the process, what I call DNA process, if that's not discovery, navigation, achievement, is not in that, then you are just masking. If it's not those three things, then you are only masking it, because you can talk about something all day. You can tell friends and you can tell family, but if you aren't willing to do that process of discovering, navigating, and achieving ultimately, then it's all for play, really. I mean, there's a lot of people that will talk about, you know, they'll text 50 people they're about to commit suicide only so that they can have somebody feel sorry for them, and they're not going to do it. And there's no real thought about how I can grow from it or learn from it. So it has to be that. And I thank you for sharing that, because that is really, really good. That is really so necessary to hear.
Definitely. LaTanya, how should one seek refuge in a place of discrimination, abuse, or mental instability?
Surround yourself with love and give yourself permission to be loved. Give yourself permission to love yourself. I think people, okay, so I went to HBCU, right? And I come out here in California where there's no HBCUs. So sometimes when I say that, people are like, oh, isn't that discriminatory? You know, all black college university. But I didn't feel guilty, because there was something about being surrounded by like-minded people that were all striving to be something more than what society was teaching us we were, right? To be surrounded by that. That was what I took from it. So whatever that space is, for some people, they have a different way of seeking refuge, and like we were talking about friends and things of that nature. I have to also acknowledge that there's no one way to be Black. So for some people who may have come from California and were used to that, oh, you're not Black enough conversation, going to HBCU may be very traumatic for you, right? And it's okay to acknowledge that and say, okay, well, I feel more comfortable in this space, right? Because I'm a human being, and here I don't feel judged, I don't feel persecuted, I don't feel discriminated against. It's okay, right, to do that. You got to get past thinking about what other people are going to say about you, right? And just do it, because you die, the world goes on, period. So why not be happy and do it your way, whatever that way is? Like, I remember I was told not to wear bright colors because I'm dark skinned, and dark skinned girls don't look right in bright colors, right? I decided, one of my friends pulled me to the side and he was like, why are you always wearing black? You got it? I was like, no. It's like, okay, let me buy a pink shirt. Like, wait a minute. It's popping on me. Wait a minute. Right? So after that, I was able to see it in myself and actually look in the mirror. I'm like, I feel good. So forget about what other people say. And that's very difficult, because we live in a society, if you have parents, right, you usually try to make them proud. So they're your first example of what rules are. So society gives you rules, right? Have this car, have this spouse, have this house, have this education, have this job, right? That'll prove you worthy of love or worthy of anything this world has to offer. So there's a lot of combat that we have to do to break those norms, right? They may say, okay, you got to get married in a church. But mom, I'm atheist. What atheist? What's that? No, right? But if it makes you happy, you want to make sure that you make the decision for you and your partner, because you'll resent the person that made you, or you'll resent the fact that you didn't choose yourself at the end of the day. So you got to start finding little spaces, right, to start claiming what you want in life. Like my hair, it's a little red tinted. Mom hates when my hair is colored. She does. She likes it to be toned down. But I feel like I look good in it, so I still wear it, right? And sometimes our parents and those over us who are supposed to be like the ones we look for guidance, sometimes they place their fears onto you. So you're afraid to go after, especially if you got their mama or their dad, oh, I sacrificed everything for you. And, you know, there's a part of them that they haven't dealt with when they try to push back on you when you're trying to obtain your dreams, right? Because it's that resentment that they didn't do it. It ain't your fault that you here. They brought you here. You didn't have no say in that, right? So the real, how a fully healed parent, a parent that is conscious and emotional intelligent, right? They want you to be better than them. Okay, no matter what you want to do, not based off of their real rubric. So you have to be conscious in when somebody is telling you or discriminating against you or discouraging you from something, where their mental state is. How far have they gone in their journey? And you'll know that by their language, right? Some friends you may have, you may accomplish something great that they've never accomplished. And then, you know, oh, okay, I see you got your little job and you got your little house and you got your little, when they doing little, okay, that means they're not really happy for you. They're jealous, right? And that's based off of their journey and their healing that they have to do as to why they can't be happy for you. That's the why, right? And the why, when finding out why people treat you a certain way, why somebody may be hateful towards you, jealous of you, or discriminatory, it's not to excuse them of their behavior, but it's for you to understand that it's not that you're less than worthy, right? You are worthy, and they don't believe that they are. So they're gonna stop you from getting however further than them that they feel like it's a threat to them. Okay, so you want to surround yourself with people. If you like the shirt and you just love it, you don't care what nobody say, okay, rock the shirt out, right? You're right. The friends that are supposed to stay in your life during that journey, when you're starting to like grab things for yourself and be proud in yourself, those are the ones that are supposed to stay. The ones that are uncomfortable are the ones you have to leave behind. So to answer your question, right? Wherever you feel love, go where you're loved. But that first place that you should feel love is by yourself.
Can I touch on that if you don't mind? You said something, Latanya, that really stuck out to me, and it's healing, the word heal. And the reason that I know I work with students, so I always have to, sometimes parents were not properly loved and had not properly healed, so they're not able to give that love or properly instill that confidence or that healing mechanism into their kids because they never had it themselves. So one thing you said about self-love, I think Rashawn touched on it as well at the beginning, like you have to make sure that we're making it comfortable. I think Antoine even brought it up as well, but we have to make it comfortable, especially for our younger generation, because once again, it starts with us and we go down. You have to make it comfortable for them to say like, hey, this is what I'm not getting. This is how I feel. So you have to be able to give them that chance to say, hey, I'm broken, I need to be healed in some way, shape, or form, or I love you. So obviously, I'm not a parent, but I work with students as well. So I always want to make sure, I always do mental health Mondays with my students. So I just text them through Reminder, just say, hey, how y'all doing this Monday? And you can respond to me separately. If it's either, hey, I'm fine, hey, I need to talk to someone, or, you know, I'm okay, or whatever the case may be. And once they say, hey, I need to talk to someone, call me. At that point, I'm a listening ear, not an open mouth. You can talk about whatever you want to talk about, and it's okay. And I want to make sure at the end of the day, you have said everything that you wanted to say. Now, if you want my feedback, I give it to you. But if you just say, I just want to vent, then I say, okay, you can just vent. I won't say anything. And I think that that's part of, sometimes people don't get to say how they feel, especially kids. They don't get to say how they feel. They don't get to say, oh, I feel, something is going on in my life. Can I talk to somebody, with fear of being, coming up in the household? Oh, you better toughen up. Or, hey, I need to go see somebody professionally. Oh, we go to church, we pray. We don't talk to a therapist. So once again, it's all about setting that, letting everyone know, especially kids in my case, to let them know, like, it's okay to not have a great day. It's okay to say, I'm going through something. Can I talk to somebody? It's okay to say, listen, I need help. Can you help me? Even if I can't help you, I'm going to find someone who can. But it's all about establishing that trust and making sure to let them know you are loved regardless of how you look, where you dress, where you went to school, or anything. And I think if they're not getting that from home, they have to get it from someone that they trust. And for me, I feel like if nothing else, at the end of the day, I want to let my students know, listen, you can trust me. I want to make sure this is an open platform for you to say and be exactly who you are. I'm sorry, but that touched on me, but I just wanted to speak.
That was good, brother. We needed that. We needed that.
I believe that, first off, a person can't give you love if most in our community, the Black community, our parents, they first don't even know what love really looks like. So they didn't know how to, they thought whooping your behind was telling you I love you. That was not showing you. That wasn't showing me that. They thought being hard on you and pushing you to do X, Y, and Z was showing that I love you. But their parents, our grandparents, great-grandparents, they didn't know, because they thought when the master whooped them, because he told them that, hey, or whoop your husband right here in front of me, that was showing that you loved him. So it was a mental thing that was then brought down. So that is true. I mean, most of us in our community, they don't know what love is. They never experienced what love is. So
yes, I get that, Rashawn. Look, as somebody who grew up in a house with a Jamaican man, he was loving in his own way, but
right.
It was not overt. It was very much so, I provide for this house. You have everything you need. That is my form of love and my expression, but it is not hugs and all this stuff. And so I remember studying John Bowlesby. He was doing research back in the 60s. He talked about 3 different types of kids that turn into 3 different types of adults. And I deal with these adults. So I know it's like you have the one that is very secure, very confident, is very aware of relationships, is very alert and present, is very open to new possibilities and okay with having difficult conversations because in their childhood they had that. Then you have those who had abusive or inattentive parents, and so they're clingy, they're needy, they're always needing reassurance, they're always looking for why you're not doing enough, or why is it not that I'm getting exactly what I need from you. The person before that was saying, I got enough in me. This person saying, I need more from you. And then it's the person who avoids contact and interaction altogether. Even when they say they want love, they are doing everything to push it away. They are saying there's no good people. They're saying nobody will stick around. They're inconsistent in their own habits. And so these type of children, like Chad was talking about, turn into these types of adults. And if they don't have the people or the influence around them to really enforce love and to give them the safe space to talk about mental health and self-love, they turn into these adults that can't have those conversations either.
Definitely. Go ahead, Antoine.
Sorry. So I definitely agree with what everyone just said. I just wanted to make sure that for everyone that's watching, because me and my father didn't have a relationship until I turned about 31, 32. And so I want to make sure that it's clear to all the parents that are tuning in that we understand that there is no book on parenting. We understand that you don't get a manual telling you how to love your child, telling you how to raise your child, and telling you how to assist in your child's mental growth. Because some parents, like my mother, who put 4 kids through private school, had to work 3 jobs, so we couldn't get that from her. But nonetheless, I also think that it fall into all the individuals that are on this call, like Chad said, we have to be that example. We have to be that example because parenting may be hard to some people. And the same way that they didn't ask to be, we don't know what happened that night or that day. It could have been where a woman was being molested, so she brought a child into this world, not even knowing how to love, and hated everyone thereafter. So I think that for the parents that are watching, it's not to shun you out or to shun you away. And we know that there is no manual or no script on parenting, or unless you're reading Byron's book, there isn't a good one on love anyway. So you know, we as a people have to start. Tanya said something on our last conference, and she said, when was the last time you asked a child how their day was? When was the last time that you actually looked at a 9-year-old or a 4th or 5th grader? Because to us, their day doesn't matter. You go to school, you get grades, you come in the house, eat that peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and you sit down. It's so, and when asking that question, she tasked each person that was on that call that had no children. She tasked all of us to step up and be that parental figure. So Chad, I applaud you for your Mental Health Mondays, because I wish you were there when I was in Upward Bound. I pray to God I wish she was there when I was in Upward Bound, because my mother couldn't, but that does not make her a bad mother, because she did the best with the tools that she was equipped with. And so I just wanted to make sure that those parents, like my mother who is tuning in, know that this is the stepping, this is the sharpening, this is the knife sharpener. So this conference right here, it's the knife sharpener, and it's for each parent that's watching. It's for each person that deals with another human being. This is what you need. So I just felt the need to say that. I'm sorry.
Thank you, definitely. I want to go ahead and just kind of shift gears towards London. This last question that I want to just kind of bring up. What should I be basing my worth on? And what are the dangers of loving others without self-love?
Okay. So when it comes to like self-worth for me, I think that I recognize that I'm like imperfect, first and foremost. So like I'm no longer like aim for perfection, right? On a day-to-day, I aim for greatness, but I also know that greatness is going to look different day to day. You know, it's going to look different when I'm happy and healthy. It's going to look different when I'm feeling sick, or I'm like physically injured, or I just had a bad day at work, or I'm, empathizing with my friend who's going through something. And so my greatness is going to look different day to day, but that's what I aim for when it comes to like valuing my self-worth. It's definitely not caught up in things, especially superficial things. I think early on in my life, and again, you've known me for a decade or two plus, so you would know, but I think early on in life, I put my value in superficial things, right? Things that could be taken away from me, things that I could lose, things that are going to depreciate at some point. But I would say later on in my 20s is when I started realizing like these things don't matter, and the things that actually do matter, and started pouring more energy into those things. And I think when it comes down to loving somebody else without self-love first, I don't think it's possible, to be honest. I don't really think you can truly love somebody else if you don't first love yourself, because how could you love someone else if you don't even know what it is to love you? And I think somebody said earlier on the call that, the self-love is the most important love of all. And it starts there, because until you really truly know yourself and accept all of you, how can you say you can like accept and love somebody for all of their imperfections too, right? And love them unconditionally. It's just not possible. So I think I answered your question. And I try to make sure I brought it back all in.
Because I mean, if you haven't loved yourself, you haven't experienced love, so you can't really give off that love to someone else, because you don't even know really truly what it is.
And I think too, like, we've all had, I consider dating and relationships like experiences, right? I saw a quote last year that said, we don't possess or control people. We can only experience them. So I consider all of those things to be experiences, past experiences, and whatever future experiences may come. But I think even in the experiences that I've had, when they're good, right? But then when they go left, and things end. And I think that you have to have like self-love first to like be able to put value in yourself in order to like leave, if leaving is what's needed to take place, or even just to end things in general. So that self-love, even I feel like places like value on yourself, in your self-esteem, like who you choose to have interactions with and deal with and welcome into your circle. It says a lot to your own self-worth as well. So yeah, I'll stop there.
Okay, well, we're going to kind of shift things, getting ready to close out here soon. It's definitely been a pleasure having this conversation with everybody today. If I can just get everybody, starting with LaTanya, just give me at least 2 minutes on whatever comes to mind when you hear mental health and self-love.
Mental health to me is necessary. There are a lot of people that may be suffering from mental illness. I think it's important that we know that there are people that don't know that they're suffering from mental illness. Especially, I always say all the time, every Black person that is conscious and aware has depression. It's just that our depression doesn't look like everybody else's depression. It looks like we get up and go to work every day. It does. It looks like you coming home and you snapping on your kids because the shoes ain't in the right place or they didn't wash the dishes and you ready to knock them across the floor, right? It shows up when you're at a job for 10 years and you hate it, but you're still there. And then you pressure your kids to do the same thing, even though they looking at you like, okay, you come home angry every day. Why would I want that job? You know, I think it's human to have some sort of trauma and react to it, right? And yeah, some reactions are a little bit more drastic, but we still need to have compassion for all and as a mental health professional. Not saying, you know, if you're a victim of it that you have to have compassion, but if you're trying to help, like if you're a teacher, if you're a provider, if you're a parent, you have to have compassion. And the only way to have that compassion for someone else is if you have compassion for yourself, right? I think the teacher, the parent, and the child should be a circle, a connected circle of love, because you actually spend more time with the teacher than you do with your parents as children. And there needs to be a space for these providers of love to come and seek refuge and to seek healing. Yes, it's extremely difficult to give something you never got, but some of us have been taught so much to just push through, you didn't even realize that, man, maybe I did need more hugs. Maybe I did need that I love you. Because I hear people say, oh, you know, my mom and my dad knocked my tooth out, you know, and they used to hit me with this, hit me with that, and I turned out fine. These people super aggressive, okay? Extremely aggressive, don't have any emotional intelligence. You're not fine. You made it somewhat, but you still got open wounds and everybody can see it, right? So you have to give yourself permission to take the cape off and seek some sort of counsel just for you with no bias. If not, you're going to be looking for it in everybody else. You're going to be looking for your dad, you're going to be looking for your mom and your friends and your spouses and your children. You're going to be looking for it, right? Like they talk about how the relationship between the mom and the daughter, when they turn a teenager, it's like, it's horrible. Like it's a lot of friction there. And a lot of times that's because the mother is seeing something in that child that she hasn't dealt with yet, right? And the daughter is seeing something in the mother that I don't want to be like that. So we're going to butt heads instead of let's try to talk to each other and understand each other. Don't get it twisted. The parents should lead that, right? Because again, your children didn't ask you to be asked to be here. You decided to bring them here, especially Black parents. You know this world was racist, right? You knew it was going to be hard. You brought them here anyways. That's not on them, okay? So all this blame or what you got to do, you got to work 2 jobs, this, that ain't on them, right? You got to be responsible. And what a lot of people don't understand is being responsible for other people is being responsible for yourself. So whatever you didn't heal from in your childhood, right? You have to give yourself permission to love on you and heal that. So just like it's okay to say, your child to say, well, mom, you too hard. Guess what? 9 times out of 10, that mom came from another hard mom. So it's okay for that mom in the middle to say, well, man, my mama raised me like that. And not say, well, I got through it. Man, that hurt me too. Okay, let's talk about this, right? That's how we have to do it. And that's, talking about kids and things of that nature. Anytime I work with a kid and I see some issues, I go straight to the parent. And it's not a blaming with the parent. It's mom, dad, tell me about your childhood. Oh, that must have been hard. How did you deal with that? How did it make you feel? Right? Because that angry person that is now reacting to the world is not a grown adult. That's that little 7-year-old girl or 7-year-old boy that's reacting that nobody gave a voice to. And now is looking for payment for their pain and everybody else around them. Okay? So give yourself permission. I've been through it. Mom's been through it. Siblings been through it. Friends been through it. People I've worked with have been through it. It's a human thing to react based off of your trauma. So let's have more understanding, right? We have more understanding, but be accountable for your actions and be accountable for loving yourself because it's important.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Chad, what comes to mind when you think of mental health and self-love? 2 minutes.
Mental health and self-love. I think that the first thing is we focus on wanting to be physically strong. I work out, I got these guns, you know what happened. But you also have to be strong mentally. You have to be strong in self-love. We know what we want to do. The question is now, how do we get there? So at that point, you need to make sure, when I think of mental health and self-love, is to, number one, surround yourself with people who can give you that self-love. Because I feel like with someone loving on you and telling you, you can do this, you are a king, you are a queen, you are as smart as anyone I know, that's going to make you be like, you know what, you're believing in me, so I'm going to believe in myself. I'm going to love myself. With that self-love comes mental stability. Once you become mentally stable and you become mentally strong, self-loving yourself and you're strong in that area, is nothing that you can't accomplish. So I think that when it comes down to mental health and self-love, it's number one, surrounding yourself with people who can make sure that you are strong in those areas. And number two, being able to be that person for someone else. We all could use someone that can, once I always say, I love to stroke my kids' egos. I like to stroke my friends' egos. I try to be their biggest cheerleader. If you open up a new business, Dan, you finna have the best restaurant in the city. You finna have the best restaurant in the nation. My kids, you want to go to Howard? We finna get you there. You finna be the best thing coming out of Howard since whomever. So my thing is, it's one thing to, once you can pour that into someone else, and it's always about giving back. I want to give it back. I want to give it back. And I feel like that's how we create that strong chain to say, I am mentally strong. Self-love, I am strong in that nature. It's finding people who can give that to you, and then in return giving that to somebody else, and we just keep it going and going and going. So that's what that means to me.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for that, London. What you think about when you hear self-love and mental health?
So it's funny when you asked the question, I started thinking like, oh God, what am I going to say, right? But it immediately took me back to when I went on my By Way of London adventure. This is not by happenstance. It's frame up here behind me. Life is one big adventure. Go enjoy it. For the bulk of my life, I was involved in youth development programs. My professional career worked for a nonprofit youth development organization. And I poured so much into other people, whether it was my kids, my members, my staff, my parents, my volunteers, my fellow colleagues, that I wasn't pouring into myself. And so in 2015, I decided that things needed to change, and went on a 43-day road trip, solo road trip, just me and God, around the country or whatnot. And I feel like that was the launching pad to the life that I lead and live now, and love, even for that matter, because I was forced to depend like pretty much on myself. Like I said, me and God, long conversations. Some days were like 14-hour drives. I wanted to hurry up and get to this next big city. But from there, and having that break from work and just everybody else, I was able just to check in with myself more. And so when it comes down to like Chad was saying that, you know, we work on being physically strong, but I think it's important, you know, that we have to be spiritually, emotionally, mentally strong, financially strong, even, you know, when we can, where we can make improvements. And so when it comes to self-love though, like I incorporated something into my life, whereas that I think like I love myself, I speak like I love myself, I eat like I love myself, I move like I love myself, and I act like I love myself. And so for me, that encompasses like all the things that I do within my life, whether it's drinking this huge bottle of water that I've been keeping down because I didn't want to bring it up, but I'm gonna bring it up now. Going to the gym, connecting with my friends, speaking with my family, traveling when I need to, spending my me time with myself, whether it's on the couch watching TV or learning a new skill, but just doing something for myself. I think everybody just has to figure out what that something is for them, and don't feel like it has to be one or it has to be something so huge and grand. Do what's best for you, and I feel like your life can change forever.
Yes.
Byron, what do you think?
For me, I actually just read this last piece because it actually is the final piece of the thought that I read earlier. And I think it fits just right. It's really short. It says, getting off the stage. It's taken years to get my arms around that concept. I was living like I was on a stage, living for the amusement of others. Today, I have come to understand that love isn't about hustling or acting. It's not a stage, but a journey, a love journey, meant to be traveled with the skill of kids searching for Easter eggs. It isn't hard, narrow, or obligatory. Love is acceptance, allowing, and being. Love is keeping the purest form of yourself. I know that love is in the ordinary of every day. It's seen in the side-by-side companionship of acceptance, accepting race and religion, gender and sexuality, political affiliation and style. Love is in the simple art of creating a life that is breathable, supportive of self and others. It's not only seen on Valentine's Day cards and Christmas. Love is timeless and seasonless. Love is a daily choice and consistent action. You don't have to wait for it to choose you because you were embraced by it the moment you were born. So you deserve love, most of all from yourself. Stop overthinking and criticizing every little thing that you do. Stop finding blame with yourself like an abnormality that needs to be fixed or a problem that needs to be solved. You deserve happiness and peace and prosperity. And no matter what you've tricked yourself into believing, you are deserving of love. It is your birthright.
Awesome. Antoine, what do you think?
Listen, Sean, you are going to have to stop putting me on this platform with so many amazing kings and queens. This gets real. But so to encompass what each one of these amazing souls have said, I go by. So I had to think of one thing that mental health and self-love would be an accountability blueprint. I am accountable for me. I am accountable to love myself I am accountable to achieve the things I want to achieve. I am accountable just for me. I am accountable for making myself happy. I don't get up in the morning and I don't say, oh, this pandemic is driving me crazy. Absolutely not. I am accountable for the thoughts that I allow to reside in my head. I am accountable for that. So I call it my accountability blueprint, because no one blueprint is the same. My blueprint isn't going to look like London's or Chad's or Byron's or Tanya's or even yours. My blueprint is made just for me. And I have to make and hold myself accountable. And if my blueprint go like this today, because that's the way that my mental health is today, then I am responsible for that. And I am responsible for finding my way back to, even if I got to go back to the beginning and to start all over. So I would say to encompass those two things is being accountable for yourself and realizing that your blueprint is written out like no one else's. And so it's crazy that I go after Byron, because he started off with what I internalized as a play. And so I often say to myself that my life is a screenplay of one. It is an audience for one. I will get an applause for one, and I will take a bow for one. And that goes back to being accountable for me. So my life is a play. It's a screenplay of one. It's an audience of one. It's an applause of one. And I will bow out for me. I'm not doing this. I went so long yearning for approval from my father when I realized that the approval lied within.
Mm-hmm.
I blamed him for so long for not asking me. My father has 10 children, 9 girls and 1 boy. And I got confused because I never understood why you didn't love me. But it's because for so long I didn't love myself. And I had to realize that I am accountable for him. I'm accountable for me. I am accountable for me. He have to search that, because at the end of the day, and I'll close out with saying, at the end of the day, when we get to the pearly gates, God will ask you, what did you do, my child? I can't answer for my mother, my father, and no one that is watching this conference. I have to be able to answer for me, and I refuse to get up there with the ums, the shouldas, and the couldas.
Yeah.
I will die empty. I promise you that. I will die empty, and I will do everything I can to make sure of that.
Awesome. I know y'all wondering about to jump off. Yeah. But again, I want to thank everybody for taking time out your busy schedules to be a part of this conversation. And just to kind of piggyback off of what everybody was saying, a few things that were sticking out to me is accountability. I don't think I've never done it publicly. So I want to tell a specific person that's on this panel right now how much I appreciate them. Because if it had not been for that person, I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today, because this person has held me accountable for years. So LaTonya, I want to say I thank you. Me and LaTonya actually met through a friend who I probably safe to say that neither one of us are kind of really friends with that particular person today. It's just interesting how people come in your life for a reason in the season, and his season had expired. And this was the reason right here for him to come into my life, to bring her. I remember when she was moving to Los Angeles, she had this going away party. And that was one of the conversations we had before she left. We're going to hold each other accountable. Whatever it is you want to do, she's going to call me and hold me accountable, and vice versa. And we stayed to that. Even to the point where we would have conversations, even me seeking therapy about 2 years ago. It was because of this woman right here. She held me accountable for that. And told me I needed to let these things go. And I would not be the person that I am today if it wasn't for her. So, LaTonya, I appreciate you. I thank you. I love you. I love all of you guys. Thank you for being a part of this conversation. I'm so honored. I'm so grateful to have an amazing network of people that we're willing to lay our lives on the line to educate and to uplift our people and push us to the next level that we need to be. So thank you guys so much for being a part. And I look forward to many more panel discussions. Thank you guys.
Thank you. The Live and Be Great podcast will be airing every other Friday. If you have truly enjoyed this podcast, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for giving Live and Be Great a chance. Please feel free to share, like, give a review, subscribe on whichever platform that you're listening to right now on iTunes or Apple Podcast, Spotify, Anchor, as well as Google Play. The Live and Be Great podcast is strictly crowdfunded, so if you are interested in becoming a supporter, you can click the link in the description, or you can go to liveandbegreat.com and scroll to the bottom and donate to the Live and Be Great podcast today, so I can continue to give you good and motivational content. Thank you all for listening, and don't forget to give yourself permission to live and be great.